When I was in middle school, I had a friend that I admittedly was not the best toward. He didn't have a very good home life, and whenever I would go over to his house, there were a couple of times that I did feel uncomfortable about an hour or two just because of the state of the place, and I would just tell him straight to his face that I wanted to go home. I didn't understand at the time that that was a hurtful thing to say, especially to someone that couldn't do anything about that situation. So understandably, that hurt his feelings, and after a while he just started cutting himself off from people after events in his life would unfold that would unfortunately only make the situation worse. This would go on until current day, where I don't know anyone in my friend circle that's able to contact him. I know some of his family members, and they don't really get a hold of him either. He's pretty much completely isolated himself from the outside world. I don't even know if he has a job anymore. I doubt he leaves his house for any reason other than work if he does. And of course, internet discourse will tell you that these kind of people are losers who need to go do something with their lives, and I'm not necessarily saying that these people don't need to be productive, but you have to understand that there's something that causes this. People will isolate themselves for a lot of reasons, and it's not always negative. For example, you have monks that will trap themselves in monasteries and essentially dedicate their lives to it to get closer to their faith, and that's a commendable thing. But just as much as it can be helpful and a space to really clear your head and observe the world around you, you can also do the opposite with it, shutting yourself off from everyone. It can be quite tempting if you're caught up in all the stress of life or work or school or relationships that you have to just shut everything off and go away. And in the short term, I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing. There are quite a few times in the day where I will find myself just shutting all the lights off and thinking, or I'll just spend some time reading a book, away from everyone else, away from all the noise. I think that form of isolation can be very good for you. It can really help you slow down and just appreciate the small moments. But of course, the negative kind of isolation that I'm getting at here is mainly pushing yourself away from everything else because you feel like you can't interact with the world around you, or you don't want to. I of course want to make it clear, as with most of the topics that I've talked about on this channel, that this is something that I'm familiar with. A lot of the time when I was younger, I would just cut myself off from everything and be silent in my room, maybe listen to music, but that was it. And of course, nowadays that's become quite commonplace as a lot of outside interactions have been replaced with the internet. Not that I'm saying the internet is a bad thing in of itself, it's just, too much of anything can be bad for you. One of the reasons that I would say that isolation is an issue is that it can make you forget how to really communicate with people at all. As a result of a lot of the time that I would just cut myself off from people, I've found it harder to have a regular conversation with someone or just hang out with someone without it getting awkward. Now, to be fair, we all have busy daily lives, and then when we're trying to wind down, we have to figure out how to spend the little bit of time that we have together. So it makes sense that you're going to be a little awkward and indecisive determining what to do, but just cutting off that social interaction from yourself can really detriment the way that you're able to communicate your feelings to other people. Now, of course, it is worth mentioning that seeking extreme isolation by staying indoors and not interacting with anyone is not the only way to completely cut yourself off from people. There is social isolation, where you just don't talk to anyone in your life. You can still go out and be in society and not make that effort. Or you can refuse to go anywhere outside of your hometown, really, and just stay cooped up in the small world that you live in. Of course, I'm not knocking anyone who does not have the financial ability to travel the world or anything in that nature, but there's usually some kind of way to try and reach out to the world around you. I unfortunately know quite a few people in my family that have chosen to take this route of cutting themselves off one of which has decided their entire family is going to go with them, which has resulted in them pulling their children out of school and just homeschooling them until they're old enough to take the graduation test. I'm sure it goes without saying that there are pretty profound psychological impacts of a child not being social when they're younger, and of course I don't fault the child at all for that. The reason that they've chosen to pull their entire family out of society is partially because of what I would call religious psychosis. Of course, not to knock religion in any way whatsoever, but I don't necessarily think it's healthy for any of these people to completely lock themselves inside of their home because they think that society is depraved and has lost its way. The difference between them and a monk in a monastery, I would say, is that the monk is making a dedication to their faith by isolating themselves, whereas these people are isolating themselves because they're afraid of the society around them. And then from the last perspective that I have to present is another family member I know that is a very depressed and unmotivated individual. They've decided to shut themselves off in their own home, and they just don't make the effort to go out, talk to anyone, make friends, do anything of that nature. And these last two examples are some of the ones that I want to present hand in hand that I think social media is a large driving factor of a lot of young people's isolation. Now, of course, I know that it's quite ironic that this is a video posted on the largest social media platform in the world, but how else are you supposed to reach people? If this is an audience that I want to talk to and give solutions to this kind of crisis, then you have to go where they are. Now, it is of course important to remember that I am a content creator that has published no studies on this, has no degrees in this field, and doesn't have any qualifications for what I'm saying. Everything I say is just based off of my personal experience and findings within my own head. But I would find two solutions to this issue. Firstly would be to limit use of social media, or understand at least that not everything you see is a representation of daily life. And secondly would be to genuinely make an effort in your life to interact with the world around you. The first one should hopefully be pretty straightforward, is that social media is essentially a hyperbole of the world around us. People only present their best looks, they only show the worst and most shocking videos, they only give the most outlandish and brash takes on topics. It's not that these things don't exist in the world, but social media takes everything and elevates it to the extreme, essentially. You're only going to see the most attractive or unattractive people, the most appalling and shocking videos, the biggest and craziest news articles of the day. You don't see any of the mundane stuff that's going on in the world because people understand that's not what you want to see, and that negative publicity is the most popular out of anything. Shock value is what draws in numbers. It's fine to be aware that this content exists and to interact with it. It's only an issue if it starts to shape your view of the world and you start to believe 100% of what you're seeing, that this is the way that these people are, they're just terrible people, or this place has these terrible things happening, or these are the beauty standards I have for the world around me. Taking the principles that the extreme social media teaches you and bringing it into your mundane and normal life is not a good recipe. It tends to heighten your expectations of the world, and when they're not met, then you kind of alienate yourself from it. As for the second one, it's unfortunately harder and more ambiguous, and you kind of have to force yourself to be extroverted. An easy start is talking to people through online platforms, although that is ironically against my first point. Or, as most of us coming out of high school, you tend to lose contact with most of your friends, but the important thing is to understand that's not because they don't want to see you or talk to you. People are just busy, and even if you're wondering, well, why have they never reached out to me, they may be wondering the same thing. You just have to make that effort to send the one message, or to call them, or to try and organize something with them. Chances are that they'd love to see you and hang out again like nothing changed. This all comes from the perspective of a pretty humanist person that's quite interested in the writings and artistry of everyone around them. So, to be fair, I have a certain appreciation for people's thoughts and ideas that makes me want to interact with them. But that's all the more reason that I would encourage appreciating an art form or picking it up yourself, because what's more human about being human than expressing it? All of my wacky sociology aside, I just don't want anyone to think that they're not getting as much fulfillment out of their life as they should be because they're closed off from the world around them. So I'd encourage you try talking to that one person you seemed interested in having a conversation with, listening to that one album that you've put off for a long time, going for a walk, bike, or drive somewhere, maybe even with a friend, just to see and experience the world around you. All of my yapping aside, I'd like to make a small address to the viewers and subscribers of this channel. My apologies for being gone for so long. I've already said like 4 times all of the reasons, so I'm not going to repeat any of that, but just letting you know, there may be less videos like this, less frequently, just because I'm working on other projects. Perhaps some videos on some particularly popular games at the moment. So hopefully those interest you and they go over well when I put them out, but in the meantime, I'm glad to be back, and to anyone sticking around, thank you for coming back, and all the new people as well. And let me know if you enjoyed the backing track on this video. It's just my improvisation on guitar in a dark bedroom with a delay filter on it, but if you like it, then I might do similar stuff in the future. All that said, I'll be going now. Hopefully not for 1.5 years this time. Thank you.